So come up close, please. She's gonna talk about herself and she's gonna do a demo.
Yeah, it might be better for everybody to come up and around.
We also have a sign up for if you want to join for her watercolor classes. And
Where do you teach them? Oh, at As If Studios. Yeah, I'll talk about that too.
okay, so come on up and
Yeah, come on
we'll
over.
get started.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for having me. My name is Cheri Guerrette, and I'll just talk a little bit about how I started with watercolor, or how I started with art in general. It was 25 years ago, and I wouldn't play Pictionary because I said I was not able to draw a stick figure, so I was like very blocked creatively, to say the least. And I did a workshop called The Artist Way. Maybe some of you know about it, Julia Cameron. And so, oh, that's okay. It's durable. Anyways, and so I did that workbook with a couple of friends, and my children were little, and I started playing around with art and fell in love with it. Like I fell in love with watercolor right away. I was playing around with my daughter's little paint sets and started painting it up. The thing that I loved about art so much is that it turned my brain off. Like I went into the zone and I was just like, no thought, no planning my grocery bill, or planning my grocery list. You know what I mean? So all thought went away, and I loved the feeling I got from painting. So anyways, I lived in Lake Tahoe, North Lake Tahoe at the time. And I just took to watercolor, and I started to just like take all these different workshops from a lot of, different artists, and just did everything I could. So I call myself a self-taught artist. I'm self-taught, meaning that I don't have a, big degree behind me, but I've stuck with it. So it's been about 25 years that I've been painting, And I never thought I would ever do anything other than watercolor, because I love watercolor. It's the most beautiful, spontaneous medium. There's no other medium like it. But I moved to Nevada City, where it's very artsy, and started to experiment around with different mediums like mixed media, acrylic, paper, collage. So I did mixed media for quite a while, and then during COVID, the teaching is a big part of my art journey. I moved to Nevada City, and it was during a really hard time, like, to even find a job. Like I left Lake Tahoe, where I lived for 25 years, and just moved to Nevada City, and it was hard to find a job. And so I was like, well, maybe I should teach art, which was kind of how it all started, right? And before I knew it, it was like my teaching business got bigger and bigger, and it grew word of mouth, word of mouth. And I've been teaching for 12 years, and I love what I do. I feel very fortunate that I'm able to do what I love. Anyways, and so teaching is a huge part of my art, being an artist. But anyways, during COVID, 2020, I wasn't teaching. And I had one of my students give me this big giant bag of oil paints, and I thought I'd never do oils. And so anyways, so during COVID, I thought, well, why not give it a try? So I fell in love with oil paints, and and took a trip to Florence, Italy to paint with one of my favorite oil painters, and for 5 days. And so I've been painting with oils for about 3 years. And so I brought some of my oils. I brought a lot of my watercolors. I also do encaustic, which I take my original watercolor, I mount it to the board, to a panel, and then I treat it with beeswax, which is hot. It's hot wax, so I melt the wax, and then I take a torch and I torch it to try to get it smooth. So it's got a little bit of resin in it, which makes it a little shiny. So that is my encaustic. I teach at a place called As If Studios. It's, I have these here. You guys can take one if you want to. These are my flyers. And so my watercolor classes, I have them, they're regular classes, they're ongoing. And they're every Monday night and every Wednesday morning. People can drop in, you could just do a drop in. I have a drop in fee. I have people that sign up for 4 classes. So if you're interested in taking a class, both groups, my Monday night group and my Wednesday group, are very fun and super encouraging and super supportive. And so, yeah.
I live busy, and so I missed out. Where is the art studio?
Oh, so it's at, in Grass Valley. It's 940, Idaho, Maryland in Grass Valley. If any of you know Grass Valley, it's, yeah. And that's where I'm also a resident artist. So I teach there and I'm also a resident artist. There's like 20 of us. And there's, we have our own studios, art studios. So there's that. And plus it's also a gallery too. Let's see, what else? So also, we're doing open studio tour. I wish I would have brought some brochures, but I didn't, I forgot that part. Anyways, we're doing open studio tour, which is, where I'm sure you guys have that here too,
Yes.
where there's like 90 artists that open their studios. And so it was last weekend and also this coming weekend. And As If Studios with 20 artists there. I'm in the catalog. So it's a great hub to come to. Like if you want to come visit some studios, you'll hit 20 artists in one spot, which is kind of nice. Let's see, what else? I don't know. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do a demonstration for you. So that way you can see this is similar to how I would teach a class. So what I do is, oh sure, I forgot. Oh yeah, no problem. Do you want to just come up and around? It's probably a lot easier. It's probably easier for you to see. And it's easier for me for sure. Anyway, so what I do, like when I teach a class, I give everybody the same image. Oh shoot, you know what? I have a copy of this, which I'm gonna grab. And this is what I'm going to demonstrate. It's a Tahoe scene. And I lived in Tahoe for 25 years. So I did a lot of Tahoe scenes, right? This is very familiar. So I'll just prop this over here, maybe. How about that? Okay. So I love watercolor. There's nothing more. It's just the most, watercolor has a reputation for being one of the most difficult mediums, but I don't know any different because I started with watercolor. So, anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to squirt down my paints. And I use a very limited, I gotta do this. So this model is just a little temperamental. There we go. I use limited everything. So I use a limited palette. I use limited brushes. Actually, for my students, I just have them have a 1-inch flat, and then I use this. It's a 12-inch round. It's got a bit of a point on it. Or actually, it gets really pointy. It's Princeton. So anyway, so just 2 brushes mostly. I use my big one. And then as far as paint goes, I use Daniel Smith is the brand I use. And I only really basically I use red, yellow, and blue with burnt orange. It's in place of burnt sienna. I like the burnt orange. It's called quinacridone burnt orange. It's all the colors on my palette are transparent. They're non-staining.
What was your color of blue again?
The color of what?
What was your blue color?
I use French ultramarine blue and I also use a cobalt blue too. Yeah. Are there any watercolorists in the group? Okay, so when I teach a class, we don't draw, we transfer our image onto our paper with graphite paper. And we do that because the class is only 2.5 hours and I just say, you know, it's not enough time to do a freehand drawing and watercolor. So. Okay, I use Viva paper towels. I always say that I should be doing commercials with Viva because, you know, they're so absorbent. And I can't paint with, you use shop towels? Oh, yeah.
And you.
Oh, that's the same, yeah. No, I throw,
No, shop.
oh, the shop towels and you throw, yeah.
It's like a claw.
Yeah, exactly. Those are really soft and absorbent, yeah. So I use the Viva paper towel. Let's see, what else do I want to say?
What are you painting on? Is this like a tablet? of
Oh, yeah,
paper,
thank you for reminding me. But that stuff. So this is actually, I paint on arches. And I'm a big, like, you know, paper is everything. Because, and a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to spend the money. But then, you know, when you know the difference, it's huge, right? Because most of the other papers, the watercolor will stay on top and move around. And arches is better, it's more absorbent. It's got a little bit of a rougher texture. You can scrub it, you know, you can really, you can do a lot more with it.
Is that a what?
This is a block, yeah,
Oh,
it's
block.
called a block. Oh, and then there's 20.
It stretches it.
Yeah, it stretches it, yeah, so that it's tight, right? So it will buckle a little bit because I get it pretty wet. But there's 20 sheets in a block. So there's 20 sheets of paper in a block. So they're like $42 on Amazon. And so, but I don't know, 20 sheets, that's not that bad. But as we all know, prices are going up. They keep going up. Okay, here we go. So now what I'm gonna do is I always squirt out fresh paint. Okay, so, and, so we'll see how far I get with this, but I love painting Tahoe. I painted a lot of Tahoe scenes, tons. Oh, but now I paint, you know, my favorite thing to paint are people. I like painting. I'm a figurative portrait
I
artist.
noticed you did some here. They were
Yep.
really great.
Oh, yeah. So people are my favorite, but I paint with watercolor, a little bit of everything. My
Love
oils. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great value study. I do a lot of value studies, meaning that we use a limited palette, like 2 colors. Like that's a good value study too. This one, yeah. Because it's just 2 colors. It's a 2-color study, right? And so I'm a value painter. Like, oh yeah, I say that color gets all the credit and value does all the work. And I say this too, that 9 times out of 10, if you don't like your painting, it's because there's a value problem. It's always a value problem. Oh yeah, that one's fun. Yeah, that one's great.
See, that was beautiful.
Yeah, the portraits are so fun to do.
Showing it to the camera, I guess.
All right. Okay, here we go. So I always, oh no, I'm not ready yet. I always start wet and wet with watercolor. I always start wet. So, it's all fun. I was going to say it's the fun part, but it's like, you know, we learn as children not to go outside the lines. Well, guess what? We get to unlearn that. We go all over the place. All right. Okay, so I'm going to get my paper wet. They usually paint with music. Susie. And it's just funny when I'm painting in front of people, I always like it when they talk a little bit, because when it gets really quiet. They're like, oh boy, they're watching closely,
Holding up.
You don't,
holding your breath, yeah, oh yeah,
you don't have to worry about the under paper getting wet.
no.
And then when it's dry, you just peel it off.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had other, but I was just curious if the.
So you wet the whole thing, you didn't do the dry stuff.
yeah, I do, yep, yep,
I can see one spot that's still there.
you can, okay, let's see.
Top, middle.
Oh, yeah, 2 inches.
Just because of my angle like this.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah, oh, yeah, I see it. I
Did
see
you
it.
like us talking?
Thank
I
you.
thought I was
Yeah.
talking.
No, and my students always say stuff like that, which I appreciate, and you know, I mean, they're always like painting for me. Like, oh, you forgot a spot, okay. Thank you, I appreciate it. So this is, I'm using yellow ochre. A little yellow ochre. And so what I do is I just get into the sky a little bit here, just to kind of warm it up a little. And it just warms up the paper. And this is Viridian Green, which is so beautiful. It's non-staining. I don't love green so much. Don't know.
That's the best thing to do more use too.
Really, is the Viridian Green?
'Cause
Yeah.
it's unique, but-
Because it's so different, yeah, I know, and it's so versatile, like, you know, I can pull it into the new, or, yeah. No, yellow ochre,
Mhm.
and I can get in here with some of that, you know, this more emeraldy sort of color. And in the water is what I was aiming for. Now I'm gonna take the cobalt blue. I'm actually gonna get rid of this so I have more space. So cobalt blue. And I'm gonna take the Viridian in here too. Go a little. Whoop, that's not good. That's from, well, just because I guess I have paint on that happens a lot on my brush. See, there's a big glob of paint. Let's see, going into the sky. Move that out a little bit. Okay. It's so funny, you know, I always have a paper towel. I mean, I really honestly cannot paint without a paper towel, but sometimes I notice that I'm like gripping the paper towel really tight. All of a sudden I see it dripping on the floor, like, wow. Is this supposed to be relaxing? It actually really is relaxing. But I don't know. I'm just keeping this fast and loose. It's funny because, you know, it seems like I demonstrate, you know, a lot when I'm teaching. And I find that my demonstrations are the better paintings. You know, than the paintings I do, because I'll prep a painting beforehand just so that I know what I'm teaching, you know. I don't know, I don't really care about clouds too much. And I'm going to just show you a lifting technique, which this is like my number one technique that I use. Because with watercolor, it's lightest light to darkest darks. We love the white paper. And we don't paint with white paint, so I lift up, so I get my brush wet. And then I just pull, this is just, you know, it doesn't matter, this is gonna be darker anyway, I just want you to see how, when I put paint down, I'll pull it back up. I do that a lot. And so see how I'm just coming into, do some tree trunks, no, I think I might,
How long will the paint stay on before you can do that? Before you can't do that?
yeah, timing is really a big thing, there, like, if it's too wet, then when you lift, the paint will go back into
Right.
it. And if it's too dry, then you have to work at it pretty hard, like
Even if it's dry, you can still
you can still
wet
lift
it down
it,
and lift
yep,
it, even if it's completely dry.
you can,
Yeah.
yes, you can. Mhm.
And the quality of paper would make a difference.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. Oh, yeah, it's huge. Yeah, I would say that if I were to pick the most important thing, I would say the paper probably. I just wet my paper towel just a little bit because I want to be able to have some tree, get some tree shapes in here. What you don't want to do is you don't want to take this and put it back on the paper because it'll stamp it and it will not come up. I mean, it won't move. So maybe I'll do that a little bit over here, just. Oops, I just did what I told you not to do. I do that a lot. Like I'll say, don't do that, and then I do it.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Huh?
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little crazy. Yeah, we're just gonna kind of get some, so we can get some foliage. The nice thing about when I'm doing a demonstration is I don't really care that much. Like, to me, it's like, okay, so, I'm just showing you stuff, but it's like, and the other thing I always say to people too, is that it's just a piece of paper. That's my number one thing. I'm like, it's just a piece of paper. If you don't like it, you screw it up, you can go home and paint it again. That's how I taught myself how to paint. Is that I would take a class, I would never like the painting that I did in class, and I would go home and I would paint it like 2 and 3 times over again. Okay, I'm just gonna dry this really quick. Oh, that's the other thing that's really important too. So, I'll show this to you. So it's just, blocking in a little color. This is my lightest light. And so now what I need to do is dry this, which I'm going to do. And sorry, this is not so much fun.
What's that in? Yeah, oh, yeah, it's really hard. Oh, you do, oh, yeah, I know. That's what I do.
You like to share?
All right, now, thank you. Yeah. Maybe later.
Let's see. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say too about watercolor is that it dries back a lot lighter. So see how when you saw it before, it's like it dried back so much lighter. So
Yeah.
when I do landscapes, I paint, all of a sudden I'm like, "Ooh, it's hot." I paint furthest back forward, so that means like I did the sky, and now I'm going to do the background mountain. I use tape, which sometimes I feel like it's cheating, but oh well. I can cheat. So because I like a really hard edge, and if you do this, you have to make sure that this is totally dry. If it is even damp, it'll seep underneath the tape for some reason. It's really weird. I don't know why it does that. Strange. So now, and then, so cool recedes, so cool goes back. We're gonna do this painting really fast. See how fast I can actually do a painting. Okay, so cool recedes. So I'm gonna take some of the alizarin and the cobalt blue. That's too purple. Maybe a little bit of burnt orange. I don't know, does it look like it has green in it? More blue, maybe. What do you think? Does it have green?
You guys want to fix the camera? It's a little too close.
A little
Skip
ultra.
back.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Looks good. When you see it.
Okay. Okay, maybe I'll just add a little bit of this and see what happens. Oh, I know, it'll just, yeah. It just grays it, right? It really just grays it up. Okay, here we go. So now I'm just gonna come in here. Tahoe's so beautiful to paint, right? I mean.
I lived here 2 years and I've never even been up there yet.
You went? Oh, you haven't?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, it's gorgeous. You know what? Now's the best time to go.
Yeah.
But why? Why?
Oh, because the fall.
Leaves
the
are
fall.
changing.
Yeah, the leaves are changing. It's not crowded. It's quiet. Kids are back in school. It's just
Not snowy.
yeah, it's not snowing. It's gorgeous. Just gorgeous up there. I live in Nevada City, so it's like an hour. Hour in. Yeah, so it seeps a little bit. So I have a little trick I can use. But it's not ideal. So I'll take this and. Reflection going. That might work. Yeah, it will actually. It just softens. Softening is really a big thing. Which takes people a long time to really kind of practice. It's a practice.
My goodness, I just want to.
Okay. And I'm done with soften this there. Yeah, at least you probably want to see that anyways, because we'll have some leaves that was in there. Anyway, so. Much scrap, yeah. Shadow in the water. And, okay, so now next is going to be trees. So I have to dry this again. While I dry, you guys can look around.
Oh.
So you're not sitting there waiting for it.
Talk amongst yourselves.
So you say your classes are in Grass Valley?
Yeah, they're in Grass Valley, yeah.
How far, I bet, so you're Nevada, but how far do you live from Grass Valley?
Oh, well, I'm in Nevada City and then it's only 5
Right
minutes.
next, right there.
Oh, they're right next to each other,
The
yeah.
first station.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, but I think it was 50 minutes for me to get here.
Yeah.
No, that's not too bad.
Or if they're like me, or like me, go and do it.
Okay, with watercolor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to, we just moved here in February from Oklahoma.
Oh,
And I would go to, a lot of times, drive an hour to get to a class.
yeah. Yeah, you're welcome to come anytime. Yeah, it's very fun, it's really fun, yeah. I would have people coming from like Newcastle or people that come up, so yeah, I think you're, oh, you are, yeah. I used to teach in Newcastle and then I stopped doing it.
Newcastle people, they come up to, you know, to do the class. Yeah, it's a pretty drive, as long as it's not stormy.
Yeah.
Again, the truth.
Yeah, true, yeah. It's always fun to watch other people paint.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know. I know, when I took my oil, I took an oil, 5-day oil workshop in Florence, and it was just like, oh, it was so nice just to sit there and watch him paint. He painted for 3 hours. So just, we'd drink our coffee, and then it was time for us to paint. I'm like, oh, do we have to? It's just so, you know, meditative watching something. Are you, everybody here is obviously artists, right? What's your art? What-
Do oil and ceramics.
Oil and ceramics, yeah, what do you
Never
do?
played watercolor.
I do a little bit of water.
Yeah. What about watercolor? You do watercolor?
Photography, mixed media, and acrylic.
Oh, wow, very cool. Yeah, yeah, it's always fun to see whatever other people do. Yeah, Deborah used to be a part of our group down there in Grass Valley. She was the one that invited me here. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna do trees. So I'm gonna mix up a green to do, I'm just gonna do this tree. Actually. No, yeah. So I always mix my green, so I always use the new gamboge, and it's a warmer green. And I always start with yellow. Yellow is kind of challenging sometimes. So we've got the green. I'm gonna mix up a purple. Purple is a great shadow color. Oh, it's too much. Too much. That is strong. That's a strong color.
Do you do your darkest studies of green first and then the lighter ones or lighter?
I do lighter to dark, and so I'll just drip some of the purple in, because see how it's got lighter and then darker up here, so. Yeah. Are you a landscape painter? I'm not really a landscape painter, but it's fun to do. So I'm just gonna try to, what I try to do is just get the shapes. I'm only focusing on shape. I'm not saying to myself, this is a tree. I'm trying not to say that to myself. It's funny, every teacher I've had, it's just shape, shape, shape. You know, they try to drill that into our heads, you know. I just take my brush and just kind of, you know, fan it. I take the side of it. It's a little dry brushy technique. I go right over the trunk. I feel like I have too much water over here on my palette. It's a little skinnier as it comes up to the top. Yeah, I need more pigment and less water. Quite a lot of pigment. Jeez, I haven't done trees for a while. Oops, oh my gosh. That was a big glob of paint. I'm gonna try to loosen this up a little bit. Pull it off to the edge.
What kind of brush is that?
This is it's a Winsor and Newton.
Is it table or?
It's a Winsor and Newton. It's a Regency series, which they've discontinued. Do you guys, I don't know if you remember the art store in Auburn, it was called Dawn's. Anyways, they discontinued this brand, unfortunately, because I used to send everybody over there to,
Yeah.
they're not there anymore. They're out of business or they retired. Anyways. Just getting a little purple. Because purple is the answer to greens. But for the longest time, I couldn't figure out, it's just like everything is too green, right? It just becomes kind of boring. So purple really helped pull it out of that boring. So now what I'm gonna do is, let me soften this up a little bit. Wow, okay. Now I've got my scraper. So yeah, I use all synthetic blends. Always, yeah.
If you're ever doing a building, do you use the tape for the buildings or no?
I probably would. I mean, I have no problem using tape to get a really hard edge. So the scraping is the same sort of thing, like with lifting, that if it's too shiny, which you can see where it's really shiny here. It looks like it might be okay down here. But what I do is I scoot and I drag it. Scoot it and drag it. And I'm gonna get some branches going here too.
So like you said, you're not using white, you're pulling the color.
Yeah. Oh, the scraping is so fun. I mean, the scraping is like, that's all you want to do is scrape. That's the thing that I love about landscape is scraping.
You ever do a resist before you start watercolor?
scraping.
You know what? I hardly ever do. Whoops. I hardly ever do. And yesterday in class, we used masking fluid, which because we did cherries. And there was really white spots. And so we put masking fluid. And it's hard to use though. It's not like it has its place.
I've never heard of masking.
Yeah, it just saves the white of the paper. I'm more of a lifter. Like I prefer to lift and scrape and scratch and get the white paper back.
Kathy did a crystal bowl and he did the resist on the really white highlight of the crystal bowl and it really came out really nice.
Yeah. Right.
And
Oh,
on your brushes for water, like in oil, you have obviously different bristles do different things. Is watercolor similar or do you have kind of the same bristle for everything? Or?
I just use my two brushes. I really keep the watercolor really simple. It's like, I don't use a lot of colors. I can get a lot of different colors with my palette.
Right.
I don't use very many brushes.
And you said you use synthetic brushes, you don't use natural?
No, I don't use that. Yeah, I say it with that kind of a strong because I don't really like them. I don't like the net. And the reason that I like the sable brushes and all those fancy expensive brushes, they hold a lot of water, but they are soggy. Like they don't have, right? So this has a spring, but I also like it to be really, really thin. Like, see what I mean? See how it's like razor thin almost. And that's really important because sometimes if I lift, I want to get a really skinny little line. Like I could lift in through here if I wanted to get that little line, back. Anyway, so I use, and these brushes are incredible. I mean, they work really well. This brush is amazing. This has got such a great point on it, and it's a 12 inch. So now what I'll do is I can start to lay in my trunk. I guess the light is coming from this direction. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. Okay, so. So I make my own, Payne's Gray. So Payne's Gray is basically the quinacridone burnt orange and French ultramarine blue. I don't use Payne's Gray out of the tube. And then and quinacridone gold, I used to use that a lot out of the tube, but now I mix my quinacridone burnt orange with my new gamboge, which makes that color. So you have less, you won't get as muddy, or it's not as, yeah, it's just a little cleaner. I guess is what I'll say about that. Is everybody hungry?
I heard somebody.
Yeah, time for lunch.
I love that brush.
Yeah, see, I
I
know.
love it.
Yeah, you could, this is number 12. It's amazing. You guys can take a picture of it if you want.
Yeah, I will.
It's incredible. I think I'm gonna maybe mix up some of the gold that I just told you about. Just try it. And put a little bit over here on this side of the tree trunk. Just give it a little variety. Pretty. And then I can take this brush and maybe do some little branches. You know, I'm going into my sprays and just adding to it just makes it a little bit more realistic. You know, if I hold it like this, I can get some, except my hands are a little shaky.
This is an intimidating group.
Well.
It's good branches. We're not that scary.
Thanks, good. That'd be awesome. I think it was the coffee this morning. Anyways, I'll turn it around so you can see it. Oh, I guess I have more trunk going on down here. Let's see, I think I went a little bit over on the trunk. Oh, well, we'll figure it out. That's okay. Gonna have to get some shrubbery down here on the bottom. You can see it. That's great. Nice, yeah. Let's see, what time do we have? You guys, so yeah, we have till 12, right? Till 12. What I show you now? I think what I'm gonna do is do.
Do you mind if I take a picture of your brush?
Oh, not at all, no. This one here?
Yeah, but then. I love it, and I've been looking for a brush like that.
Oh my gosh, it's called a velvet touch. It's the velvet touch, yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
I love it. So these brushes can be used for acrylic too, then just about watercolor?
Oh, no, they can't be used for acrylic, no.
No? Okay.
No, acrylic would ruin them in an instant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, acrylic is so plasticky. It dries pretty hard, yeah. I don't know, is there more you want me to show you?
No, great job. And the paints that you use are, what's the brand?
So I use Daniel Smith.
Daniel Smith.
Yeah, if you want to email me, or I can always make
Okay.
you my supply list.
Okay.
Which has all my supply. I should have brought some copies of it, but anyways, if you want to do that, you can. But I basically use 2 yellows, 1 red, 2 blues, and the burnt orange, quinacridone burnt orange, so that's pretty limited palette. And then I use a little bit of viridian green occasionally, I might use cadmium red occasionally, but I can do all those paintings that you see over there are done with this same palette. So you can get a wide range of color and value. Yeah. Yeah, so thanks for having me. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you.
You ever mix watercolor with anything else?
No, what do you mean, like?
Oh, it's used to like pop.
Oh, you mean,
Colors with the like stop acrylic, some on top.
I don't, but that's, yeah.
Printed out.
Yeah.
It's like
I have-
watercolor actually is muted.
Right,
Muted
right.
color, you can write something.
That's right, just give it a pop.
You get a pop, you get a color.
I would do it, I would try it, because I do, I mix media,
Yeah, so
you
those
know.
are not to.
no reason not to, exactly, especially with my watercolors, I have so many. Because I have a large inventory because I teach, so I have
Right, much stuff.
a lot of stuff, yeah, I do, right, yeah.
We all fair, right?
Yeah, exactly, well, there's, I mean, I always say, that rules are made to be broken. And especially in art, and if you can get away with breaking the rules, you're doing something right.
I break them all the time because I don't know what they are.
Oh, yeah, you don't even know what they are, yeah, exactly,
I really want to know.
don't even want to know,
I'm doing my own thing.
yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, well, good luck on all your artistic endeavors. Whatever it is you guys are doing, keep on doing it.
Yep.
Keep on keeping on.
Got a question for you. Are you willing to drive to Carmichael to do a demonstration for Northern California arts?
Sure. Oh, yeah. You mean, that's,
You meet at the Sacramento Fine Arts Center.
oh, yeah, I know Sacramento. I've entered my stuff in shows there.
Oh, good.
So I know them there.
Okay. Then it will be sometime next year.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm gonna turn in your name and information.
Yeah, do you want to just take my flyer? Or,
got
oh, you got it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, just, oh, for sure. I would definitely do
We
that.
pay the same thing that's in
Yeah.
here.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that for those guys.
Okay, super.
Yeah. I know you guys have Dave, or they have David. Who is it?